Hey, brother! Okay, you guys, over on Through the Gryffindor, we have been making our way through Goblet of Fire, and as you might expect, questions about Moody's eye have been cropping up left and right. Because there's just no way around it. It just seems way too powerful of a magical object to not be given a backstory. But it sneaks up on you because when you first encounter it, it doesn't seem that out of place. I mean, you're still learning about the wizarding world, and when you're told that this guy just has a magic eye that can see through stuff, it's like, yeah, no issue. That's fun and cool. But the more you learn about the wizarding world, the less and less his eye makes sense, and the more questions you start to have. Like when you first learn he can see through Harry's invisibility cloak, you just accept it because, like, sure, that seems reasonable. Why not? Can you? Yeah, it can see through invisibility cloaks, Moody said quietly, and it's come in useful at times, I can tell you. I don't know if that went a little pirate for Moody. He does kind of have a sort of peg leg. I guess that's okay. Yar, constant vigilance. What'd be great is that he could wear the eye patch and it would look like he was missing an eye, but he could see right through it. Also, don't hate him with a parrot. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that later on, we find out more information about Harry's cloak that makes Moody's eye ability to see through it a little bit more suspicious, because Harry's cloak is the one-of-one Deathly Hallow of legend. The cloak that, according to Xenophilius Lovegood, is a cloak that really and truly renders the wearer completely invisible and endures internally, giving constant, impenetrable concealment no matter what spells are cast at it. Asterisk, impenetrable unless you are some random eye that a maybe pirate has. I mean, that's quite the shadow buff for the eye that just goes unexplained. Because how on earth is he seeing through the cloak? Is the eye on the same power level as the Deathly Hallows? And it doesn't stop there, because then along comes Fantastic Beasts, which decides that Grindelwald also has a single electric blue eye and who's actively hunting the Deathly Hallows. Is that a coincidence? I think not. Because let me tell you what, that also goes unexplained. Do you see how we went from random cool character trait to insane mystery? What gives, Mad Eye? Where did your eye come from? Well, today we are going to explore every possibility. Hey, brother! Okay, where to begin? I usually just say the beginning, but that's kind of the issue, isn't it? What is the beginning? How about here? Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive. We're proud to say they are perfectly normal, thank you very much. Well, that's actually, that's probably to the beginning. Or maybe not beginning enough, or you know what? It might be almost exactly the right spot, just not the right location. We'll come back to it. I guess let's just start with the history of Moody's eye that we can confirm. So in Goblet of Fire, we are finally introduced to the Pensieve, Dumbledore's large basin capable of holding extracted memories you can then relive and show to others, and Harry naturally takes several unprompted dives into Dumbledore's thoughts and lands in 3 separate trials. Actually, as long as we're talking about remarkable magical objects, I think the Pensieve would be on this same caliber. I mean, there could be others, but this one was literally found at the very spot where the founders would construct the castle of Hogwarts. It is older than the school itself. Anyway, where the Pensieve came from, not important. What is important is the trials he sees inside of it. The first of which is for Igor Karkaroff, headmaster of Durmstrang and former Death Eater. And among those in attendance at his trial is a younger Mad-Eye Moody. Harry leaned forward so he could see past Dumbledore. Mad-Eye Moody was sitting there, except there was a very noticeable difference in his appearance. He did not have his magical eye, but 2 normal ones. Okay, cool, we know that. And I think it's worth noting, by the way, that all 3 of these trials are taking place after the downfall of Voldemort, so after Harry was attacked as a baby. That's why the first page of the entire saga is actually very accurate timeline-wise, because it's that very evening that Harry will be delivered to the Dursleys' front step. Either way, that means we can confirm that at this point, Moody has survived the entire first war with both eyes intact. Then we move on to the second trial for Ludo Bagman, and again, Moody is in attendance. Now, sadly, there's no mention of his eyes this time, but I feel like it would be mentioned if suddenly the eye had appeared. So I think he still has 2 regular eyes at this point. Which brings us to the third trial, the one about Bellatrix Lestrange, Barty Crouch Jr., and then the Lestrange brothers, Rabastan and Rodolphus. And this time, Moody is not there at all. So here's the thing. We do know he lost the eye fighting Death Eaters, and that he lost it after the First Wizarding War, and these 4 are like the only known Death Eaters to us who are still really active post Voldemort's fall. Bellatrix literally makes this fact 100% clear for us. The Dark Lord will rise again, Crouch. Throw us into Azkaban. We will wait. He will rise again and will come for us. He will reward us beyond any of his other supporters. We alone were faithful. We alone tried to find him. So if you put 2 and 2 together, it seems pretty likely to me that one of these 4, if not Barty Crouch Jr. himself, was the one responsible for the loss of Moody's original eye. In fact, if he lost it in the battle with these 4, it would also explain maybe why he's not at the trial, because he's actively recovering from this fight. And yes, I know the movie says Evan Rosier got his eye, but that is directly countered in the book where Moody mentions Rosier being the one who got his nose instead. Okay. Took a bit of me with him, though, whispered Moody to Harry's right. Harry looked around at him once more and saw him indicating the large chunk out of his nose to Dumbledore. Okay. Anyway, that's just like a little mini theory for you, but it does give us a good timeline for when he got the eye, but still not where it came from or why it's so powerful. But y'all want to take a quick pause right there to let you know about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Okay, so throughout the years, it's never been uncommon for one Harold Potter to wish he had someone like a parent to talk to about everything he's struggling with. And some of this is by design, like as the main character, we need to see him overcome challenges and not have someone like do it for him. But out here in the real world, we don't need your life to be a great plot. Like, finding help with anything that is causing you strife does not make you a less interesting main character. Because that's what therapy does. If anything, working through those things that trouble you can actually free your mind to chase your grander aspirations. Like, who needs the chosen one when you're out there living your dreams? Honestly, I know it might sound cheesy, but it's amazing how much stress we grow accustomed to living with. Like, sometimes it takes a third party who is qualified to help you dial in on those things and create plans to alleviate them to tackle life with a clear, confident, and happy mindset. You mean it's not normal for you to be dealing with that much stress like that? That person is genuinely toxic. I don't just dislike, I don't have to deal with it. So write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/super to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/super. Link is in the description down below. But let's talk about that, because is the eye even as powerful as we're giving it credit for? Can Moody actually see through Harry's cloak? Because we appear to witness this happen several times, and yet we also know that Barty Crouch Jr. is immensely resourceful and constantly fooling us. Plus, our information that the cloak is impenetrable comes from Xenophilius Lovegood, who is a semi-reliable source at best. I mean, the cloak is of legend, so it's possible that Xenophilius is just wrong, and that while Harry's cloak is indeed more resilient than other cloaks, it is perhaps not any more powerful in terms of concealment, since after all, Harry is detected in other instances, like on the Marauder's map, or by Dumbledore in Hagrid's cabin in Chamber of Secrets. For a second, Harry was almost sure Dumbledore's eyes had flickered towards the corner where he and Ron stood hidden. That said, Moody does appear to be able to see through it. Like, the first time it happens is in the Three Broomsticks when Harry is there with Hermione. Moody limped around the table and bent down. Harry thought he was reading the SPEW notebook until he muttered, "Nice cloak, Potter." And then the second time is in the middle of the night when his foot is trapped in the stairs after exiting the prefix bathroom with the golden egg. Harry threw caution to the winds. He raised his arms under the cloak and waved furiously at Moody to attract his attention, mouthing, "It's mine, mine." Seems pretty solid And yet, there is at least one possible explanation for how he's pulling this off, coming from the other half of the Lovegood family, Luna, when she says, "Raxpert got you? They're invisible. They float in through your ears and make your brain go fuzzy," she said. "I thought I felt one zooming in around here." Now, again, you have to consider the source, like, are Raxperts even real? But surprisingly, I think yes. I mean, that's why Luna is wearing the Spectre specs, to try and see them, and at least in the movie, they seem to work because it's how she finds Harry underneath the cloak, because she apparently sees the Raxperts floating around him. Of course, that said, in the books, that doesn't happen at all. Tonks is the one who finds him on the train, and it's because the blinds in the cabin are closed, so that might not count. But then in the now defunct mobile app, Wizards Unite, Raxperts were a real creature you had to try and collect. So, like, I don't know how canon you think that game is/was, but, like, why would they ever include them if they were fake? Point being that if they are real, I have no issue believing that Moody's eye could see them, even if they can't see through the cloak. I mean, if the Spectre specs work, definitely his eye would work. And then if there are Raxperts just like floating around Harry, then Barty Crouch could just be using context clues to put it all together. I mean, Hermione drinking alone at the Three Broomsticks? That's odd, but he's watching Harry really closely. He would know that Ron is turned against him and that Hermione's like his only friend at the moment, so just like put two and two together. Who are those Raxperts circling around? Then there's the golden egg in the middle of the night. Like, he's the one who told Cedric how to solve the egg and knows that he already solved it, so the only other egg that should be inside the castle is Harry's. Like, it's obviously Harry. So we got two options. I told Cedric what to do, and he's a prefect, so he wouldn't need to be hiding in the middle of the night, so... Harry. But so if that's it, if it's Raxperts, then mystery solved. The eye is not that powerful. It's just being used by a very savvy Death Eater who's quick on his feet. And I know that might seem just like broad strokes, but like keep in mind that Barty Crouch Jr. is successfully convincing Dumbledore that he is in fact one of his own most trusted allies, and he's only been free of the Imperius Curse since the Quidditch World Cup, which was 1 week before the start of term. That said, we of course can't confirm that it's Raxpert, so let's also explore the possibility that the eye really is powerful enough to see through the cloak. Where then could it have come from? Well, let's start with Grindelwald and his own unexplained electric blue eye. Like, who knows? Maybe it's just a heterochromia, which is when someone has two different color eyes, and it just so happens that this super powerful dark wizard has a unique, striking genetic feature. Maybe that's all it is. But the fact that another character also has a single super striking blue eye seems at least a little suspicious, especially because Grindelwald also has his own kind of like special sight as a seer. Like, could it be related to that? I don't know. Again, it's hard to say. The only other seer we meet is Trelawney, and it's not like she has specifically unusual eyes. Other than, you know, like wearing the big magnified glasses. But then, even on top of that, Grindelwald is also seeking the Deathly Hallows, one of which Moody's eye can see through. So, like, is it related to the hunt? Is the eye a fourth Deathly Hallow? I mean, it certainly feels possible because, after all, the symbol of the Deathly Hallows, the triangle, is also described as a triangular eye. And yet, the idea of it being a Hallow still doesn't clear up its origin point, because then who the creator is still up for debate, because then it's either Death himself or it's not Death. It's one of the three Peveril brothers, depending on like which version of the story you think is true. Dumbledore, for example, believes it's more likely that the brothers created the Hallows, and his guesses are, you know, typically accurate. And moreover, Dumbledore seems like someone you could trust with this kind of guess because he himself has invented unique magical objects before, like the Deluminator. But then, my issue with that is that eyes aren't really objects, are they? They're organs, you know? Like the strap in the movie which I hate. Makes it look more like an artificial eye, yet in the books, there's no strap. It's like a real eye. And not for nothing, although I'll admit now we're kind of getting into some of our own theories, some of our own SCB lore here, but we did recently develop a theory that Death himself is actually just like a super powerful Dementor. That whole video you can watch right here. But like Dementors, you might remember, notably, have no eyes. And so, if all Dementors were initially spawned from Death and he lost his eyes in like some other story we don't know about, although I think it's worth mentioning that in the one we do know about, he does lose a bargain, that would explain why Dementors are blind. By the way, not for nothing, I think that the Tale of the Three Brothers would make for a great, like, alt version of The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Death walked down a lonely road, he was seeking souls to reap. He was pale and cold with the hunger untold and the night so dark and deep. Then he saw three brothers walking by, each clever, bold, and proud. They defied the end of life with power they'd avowed. Let us know if you want more. But getting back on track, you may notice that means Death has lost 2 eyes, but wouldn't you know it, we also know of 2 electric blue eyes, Grindelwald's and Moody. So look, wow, we've come full circle. Just like an eye, or I don't know, maybe in this case, like a triangle, whatever. You know what I mean. But that said, there is yet another possibility, because if Dumbledore is right about the Hallows being created by the Peverils, then maybe the eye truly is more of an invention. And yet, I don't think it was made by the Peverils. I think it's way more likely it was made by Dumbledore himself. Think about it. We know he and Moody are old friends, and that Moody clearly sacrificed a lot in the war, fighting for Dumbledore in the Order of the Phoenix against Voldemort, and then, just when it seemed to be over, he lost an eye. Doesn't the crafting of a unique gift for his toughest soldier seem just like the kind of thing Dumbledore would do? Like, it almost feels like the inverse of the hand that Voldemort gives to Wormtail. Like, the hand is nice, but it will turn on you if you turn against Voldy. The eye, on the other hand, is a genuine gift that just makes Moody more powerful. But I do hear you asking out there, could Dumbledore craft something capable of seeing through a Deathly Hallow, though? Like, I know he's good, but is he that good? Well, don't forget, he would be making the eye with the Elder Wand, which is also a Deathly Hallow. So yes, I do think he could craft an object with such power, especially since Dumbledore himself, who also has noticeable blue eyes, seems to be able to see through the cloak. Like, he's able to observe Harry in year 1 when he finds the Mirror of Erised, and then in Chamber, his eyes flit over to where he and Ron are hiding in Hagrid's hut, like we said before. Which, like, if you think, oh, maybe Harry just saw things, like, sure, maybe he did, except that Dumbledore then randomly just makes the super loud proclamation about how you can contact me via loyalty, just announcing it for no reason, whatever.
Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it.
But there you go, guys. That is every possible explanation we've been able to come up with for Moody's eye and its odd amount of power. Which do you think is the most likely? Like, personally, I think I'm leaning towards, like, Grindelwald did genuinely just have a heterochromia, and Dumbledore then made Moody's eye with the Elder Wand, because that seems to cover the most bases, but obviously there's clearly a lot of wiggle room on this one. So let me know what you think is the most likely in the towel section down below. But guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you haven't already. And hey, go ahead and share this video. Why not? I think this is a pretty good one. I think it explores a lot of fun, unique avenues. I feel like we think we know the story so well, and then we're doing through the Gryffindor, and we just keep finding more stuff. So share it out, you know, spread the word. But otherwise, if you want to see our full video about how Death is a Dementor, you can check out this video right here. But until next time, then I will see you in another life, brother.